Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the stars through the large window in front of him. He had been in space for 15 years, but the sight still made him feel small. Today felt different, though. Something was wrong in the galaxy, and he could feel it in his bones. The year was 2387, and humanity had been part of the galactic community for 30 years now. When the first alien ship had arrived at Earth, everyone thought it would be the start of a golden age. Humans would learn from older, wiser species. They would share knowledge and explore the stars together. But things had not gone as planned. Jake pressed a button on his chair. "Communications, get me Admiral Rodriguez on Earth." A young woman turned around from her station. "Yes, sir, Captain." "Morrison! Connecting now!" The screen in front of Jake flickered to life. Admiral Ben Rodriguez appeared, his gray hair and tired eyes showing the stress of recent weeks. Behind him, Jake could see the busy command center on Earth. "Jake, good to see you," the Admiral said. "I hope you have some good news for me." "I wish I did, Ben. We just finished monitoring the Coalition's communication channels like you asked. What we found is not good." Jake had known Ben Rodriguez for 10 years. They had served together during the border wars with the Vexian pirates. Ben was one of the few people who understood how dangerous the galaxy could be. "Tell me what you found," Ben said, his voice getting serious. "Every major alien species has agreed to work together against us. The Zentari Empire, the Vexian Dominion, the Ashkari Collective, and 11 others. They call themselves the Purification Pact." Ben was quiet for a long moment. "Are you sure?" "We recorded their messages. They think humans are too dangerous to exist. They say we fight in ways that are not civilized. Our technology grows too fast. Our expansion is too aggressive." Jake had read the alien messages 3 times, not wanting to believe them. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years were now working together, all because they feared humanity. "How long do we have?" Ben asked. "According to their communications, they are giving us 30 days to leave all our colonies and return to Earth. After that, they will attack with everything they have." The Admiral looked older suddenly. "How many ships are we talking about?" Our scouts counted over 300,000 vessels gathering in the Outer Rim. They have been planning this for months, maybe years. Jake remembered the first time he had seen an alien warship. It was massive, covered in energy shields and weapons that could destroy a city with one shot. Now, hundreds of thousands of those ships were coming for humanity. Dr. Lisa Carter was on the research ship UES Discovery when she got the emergency message. She had been studying alien plant samples from the Kepler colonies when her computer started beeping with an urgent signal. "Captain North, we are receiving a priority message." "From Earth Command," her assistant called out. "Put it through to the main screen," Captain North replied. Lisa watched as Admiral Rodriguez appeared on the screen. His face was grim. "All research vessels are to return to human space immediately. We have received information about a possible attack on our colonies. This is not a drill." Lisa felt her stomach drop. She had been working in alien space for 3 years, studying the different species and their biology. Most of the aliens she had met seemed peaceful, even friendly. "Admiral, what kind of attack?" Captain North asked. "The Coalition has formed a military alliance against humanity. They plan to remove us from the galaxy by force." Lisa could not believe what she was hearing. "Sir, which species are involved?" "All of them, Dr. Carter. Every major civilization has agreed to work together against us." After the communication ended, Lisa stared out at space. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were gathering to destroy everything humanity had built among the stars. On the colony world of New Boston, Governor Sam Collins was having the worst day of his life. The morning had started with reports of strange ships in the outer system. By noon, those ships had revealed themselves to be Coalition scouts. Sam stood in the colony's command center, surrounded by worried officials and military officers. Outside the windows, he could see the city his people had built over 20 years. 50,000 humans called New Boston home. "Governor, we are getting reports from the other Kepler colonies," said Major Kate Williams, the colony's military commander. "They are all seeing the same thing. Scout ships just watching us." "Any attempts at communication?" Sam asked. "None, sir. They just sit there and watch." Sam had helped build New Boston from nothing. He had been one of the first colonists to arrive, back when it was just empty land and big dreams. Now alien ships were studying his home like scientists, looking at insects. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission," the communications officer said. "Put it through." The screen showed an alien Sam had never seen before. It looked like a tall, thin human, but with silver skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, its voice was translated by the computer. "Human colonists of the Kepler system, you have been found in violation of galactic law. Your species has been judged a threat to civilized society. You have 30 standard days to evacuate all colonies and return to your home system. Any humans found outside Sol space after this time will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence. Major Williams spoke first. "Governor, we need to contact Earth Command immediately." Sam nodded, but his mind was racing. 30 days to abandon everything they had built. 30 days to run back to Earth with their tails between their legs. "Kate, send the message to Earth. Tell them what we heard. Then start working on evacuation plans, just in case." "Just in case, sir?" Sam looked out at his city again. "I have been building things my whole life, Major. I am not ready to give up without a fight." On Earth, President Maria Santos sat in the Oval Office with her top advisors. The reports from the colonies had been coming in for hours. Every human settlement outside the Sol system was being threatened. "Madam President," said Defense Secretary Robert Lane, "our military analysis shows that we cannot win a direct confrontation. The coalition has too many ships, and their technology is more advanced." Maria had been president for 6 years. She had dealt with economic problems, natural disasters, and political crises, but nothing had prepared her for this. "What are our options?" she asked. "We could negotiate," suggested Secretary of State Helen Park. "Maybe we can find a peaceful solution." "Admiral," Rodriguez shook his head. "With respect, Madam Secretary, they are not interested in negotiation. They want us gone from the galaxy, period." "Then what do you suggest, Admiral?" Ben Rodriguez had been thinking about this moment for years. Ever since humanity's first contact with hostile aliens, he had been working on plans that he hoped would never be needed. "We implement Protocol Omega." The room went quiet. Everyone knew about Protocol Omega, but most thought it was just a theory. "Are you sure that will work?" Maria asked. "No, Madam President, but it is our only chance. The aliens think they know how humans fight because they have studied our history. They expect us to mass our fleets and fight them directly. Protocol Omega is based on doing what they do not expect." Maria looked around the room at her advisors. These were some of the smartest people on Earth, and they were all looking at her to make an impossible decision. "How long do we have to prepare?" 30 days before they expect us to surrender. Maybe 45 days before they attack. That is not very much time. No, it is not. But humans have always been good at doing impossible things with very little time. Maria stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of Washington, D.C. Somewhere out there, in cities all over Earth, people were going about their normal lives. They had no idea that the survival of their species might depend on the next few weeks. "Admiral Rodriguez, you have authorization to begin Protocol Omega. God help us all." As the meeting ended and her advisors left, Maria remained at the window. 30 years ago, humanity had reached for the stars with hope and dreams. Now they would have to fight for the right to exist among those same stars. The galaxy had united against Earth, but humanity had survived worse odds before. They had fought through ice ages, plagues, world wars, and disasters that should have destroyed them. Each time, they had found a way to not just survive, but to grow stronger. The aliens were about to learn that humans were very difficult to kill. Far out in space, the coalition fleets continued to gather. Commanders from a dozen species worked together, planning humanity's destruction. They had studied human history and tactics. They knew about human weapons and defenses. But there was one thing they had not studied carefully enough. They had not learned what made humans truly dangerous. It was not their weapons or their ships or their technology. It was their refusal to accept defeat, even when defeat seemed certain. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin. Admiral Ben Rodriguez stood in the war room deep beneath the Pentagon, staring at displays showing coalition fleet movements. 25 days had passed since the alien ultimatum, and the enemy armadas were taking position at the edge of human space. They are not even trying to hide their numbers, said General Carl Davis, pointing at the tactical display. Over 350,000 ships now. They want us to see how hopeless this is. Ben nodded, but inside he was smiling. The aliens were doing exactly what Protocol Omega needed them to do. They were being predictable. Any word from our colonies? Ben asked. The evacuation fleets are moving on schedule, Davis replied. Governor Collins reports that New Boston's civilian population will be completely evacuated in 48 hours. Ben had to admire Sam Collins. The man was playing his part perfectly, even though Ben knew it was killing him to abandon the colony. He had spent 20 years building. The truth was that no civilians were being evacuated. The ships leaving the colonies were carrying something much more dangerous than refugees. Commander Ryan Hayes piloted his ship away from New Boston, watching the city lights fade behind him. His cargo hold was filled with what looked like scared families and their belongings. The coalition scouts watching the evacuation would see exactly what they expected to see, but Ryan's passengers were not civilians. They were the most experienced soldiers in the human military, along with equipment that could destroy entire fleets. Each evacuation ship was actually a fully armed warship using holographic disguises. Commander, we are being scanned by a coalition vessel, his communications officer reported. Let them scan us, Ryan said calmly. Show them crying children and worried parents. Give them what they want to see. The holographic systems were working perfectly. To any outside observer, Ryan's ship looked like a helpless transport full of refugees. The coalition scouts recorded the evacuation and transmitted the data back to their command ships. Ryan smiled as he thought about what would happen when these refugee ships revealed their true nature. The element of surprise was the most powerful weapon humanity had. Dr. Lisa Carter worked frantically in her laboratory aboard the research station orbiting Mars. She had been recalled from alien space 3 weeks ago, officially to help with the evacuation effort. In reality, she was working on something that could change the course of the war. Computer, display the neural mapping data for the Zentari Empire, she said. Holographic displays showed the brain structure of humanity's most powerful alien enemy. Lisa had been studying alien biology for 8 years, and she had made a discovery that even she found hard to believe. Despite being completely different species, every member of the coalition shared one critical weakness. Their brains all processed information through quantum neural networks that operated on the same frequency range. Lisa, how is the project coming along? Admiral Rodriguez's voice came through her communication system. Almost ready, Admiral. The neural disruptor should affect all coalition species simultaneously. Their shared quantum brain networks make them vulnerable in a way they never realized. Ben's image appeared on her screen. Will it be permanent? No, sir. The effects should last about 6 hours. Long enough to disrupt their coordination during battle, but not long enough to cause permanent damage. Lisa had insisted on that limitation. Even in war, she did not want to cause suffering that could not be undone. Some of her colleagues thought she was being too soft. But Ben supported her decision. How many units can you produce? Enough to equip every ship in our fleet, plus backup units for extended operations. Good work, Doctor. Humanity owes you a debt we may never be able to repay. After the communication ended, Lisa continued her work. She thought about the aliens she had met during her research years. Most of them had been kind and curious, eager to learn about human culture. Now she was creating weapons to use against them. But they had made their choice when they decided to unite against humanity. Lisa was just making sure her species would survive to see tomorrow. Captain Jake Morrison sat in a bar on Luna Station, drinking coffee and reading reports. To anyone watching, he looked like an off-duty officer waiting for new orders. In reality, he was coordinating one of the most complex military deceptions in human history. Jake, you have a visitor, the bartender said quietly. A woman in civilian clothes sat down next to him. Ambassador Kate Williams looked like a diplomat preparing for peace negotiations. She was actually carrying technology that could cripple the entire coalition fleet. Are you ready for your mission? Jake asked without looking at her. The quantum virus is loaded and ready. Once I get close to their command ship, I can infect their entire network within minutes. You know this is a one-way trip. Kate smiled. Sadly. I know, but if it works, humanity survives. If it does not, we all die anyway. The choice is easy. Jake had known Kate for 12 years. She had saved his life during the border wars, and now she was volunteering for a mission that would almost certainly end with her death. The coalition is expecting you tomorrow, he said. Their flagship will be in the Vega system. I will be there. Jake, when this is over, make sure my family knows why I did this. They will know. The whole galaxy will know. Kate finished her drink and left without another word. Jake watched her go, knowing he might never see her again. On Earth, engineer Sam Turner worked in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath New York City. Above ground, people went about their normal lives, unaware that the salvation of their species was being built in the darkness below their feet. Sam was installing the final components of the Lazarus Network, a quantum communication system that would connect human forces across the galaxy. When activated, it would allow instantaneous coordination between ships separated by thousands of light years. Sam, how much longer? Asked his assistant, Maria Santos Jr., the president's daughter, who had volunteered for the project. 2 more days. The quantum relays are almost synchronized. The Lazarus Network had been in development for 15 years, hidden within Earth's civilian infrastructure. Communication satellites, power plants, and even traffic control systems had been quietly modified to serve as network nodes. When the war began, humanity would be able to coordinate attacks across dozens of star systems simultaneously. The coalition would face strikes coming from everywhere at once. Maria, does your mother know you are down here? The young woman smiled. She knows I am helping with the war effort. She does not need to know the details. Sam understood. President, Santos had enough to worry about without knowing her daughter was working in dangerous conditions deep underground. Hand me that quantum processor, Sam said. Let us finish building the network that will save humanity. Governor Sam Collins stood on the observation deck of New Boston Spaceport, watching the last evacuation ship disappear into space. The city behind him was not actually empty. Hidden beneath buildings and in underground facilities, thousands of volunteers remained. They were not civilians. They were engineers, soldiers, and scientists who had volunteered to stay behind and turn the colony into a trap. Governor, the last coalition scout ship is moving away, Major Kate Williams reported. They believe the colony is abandoned. Sam nodded. The aliens had watched the evacuation carefully, counting ships and monitoring communications. They had seen exactly what they expected to see, humans running away in fear. Begin Phase 2, Sam ordered. Across the colony, hidden systems came online. Factories that had appeared to be shut down began producing weapons. Mining equipment was converted into defensive systems. Even the agricultural domes were modified to serve as camouflaged bunkers. New Boston looked empty, but it was actually more dangerous than ever. When coalition forces came to claim the abandoned colony, they would get a surprise they would never forget. "Major, how many people stayed behind?" 5,000 volunteers, sir. Engineers, soldiers, and support staff. All of them know this is probably a one-way mission. Sam felt proud and sad at the same time. These people were giving up everything to defend their home. They deserved better than the war that was coming. "They will not die for nothing," he said, quietly. "We are going to show the galaxy that humans do not give up." In the depths of space, Captain Jake Morrison's ship drifted silently among the wreckage of an old battlefield. The Defiance looked dead, its hull scarred and its engines cold. Coalition scouts had scanned the area 3 times and found nothing worth investigating. But Jake and his crew were very much alive, sleeping in cryogenic chambers while their ship's AI monitored enemy movements. When the time came, they would wake up in the middle of the Coalition fleet, ready to cause chaos from within. "Computer, how long until the Coalition reaches the target zone?" Jake asked before entering his cryopod. 18 hours, Captain Morrison. "Wake us when they are in position, and remember, we need to look completely dead until the moment we attack." "Understood, Captain." Jake climbed into his cryo chamber, knowing that when he woke up, the war for humanity's survival would have begun. The Defiance was just one of dozens of ships playing dead throughout human space. When they all activated simultaneously, the Coalition would learn that appearances could be very deceiving. As Jake fell into cryo-sleep, his last thought was about Admiral Rodriguez's words during their final briefing. "The aliens think they know how humans fight because they studied our history. They are able." The Coalition's grand offensive began exactly 31 days after their ultimatum to humanity. Fleet Admiral Zekthar of the Zentari Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as over 350,000 alien warships moved toward human space like an unstoppable wave of destruction. "All fleets report ready," his communications officer announced. "The human colonies lie defenseless before us." Zekthar had been fighting wars for 300 years, but he had never commanded a force this large. 14 different species, many of them ancient enemies, now followed his orders. The humans had achieved the impossible by uniting the galaxy against themselves. "Begin the advance," he ordered. "Today we end the human threat forever." The first target was the Kepler system, home to humanity's oldest and largest colonies. Coalition scouts had reported that the humans had evacuated their populations, leaving behind empty cities and abandoned infrastructure. It should have been easy. Captain Jake Morrison woke up slowly as his cryo chamber opened with a soft hiss. The air was cold and his muscles were stiff, but his mind was sharp. Around him, his crew was waking up from their own chambers. "Status report," he said, pulling on his uniform. "Coalition fleet is in perfect position, Captain," his AI replied. "They have us completely surrounded, just as planned." Jake smiled. The Defiance had been drifting dead in space for 3 weeks, looking like wreckage from an old battle. The Coalition had scanned them multiple times and found nothing interesting. Now their entire command structure was within striking distance. "All crew to battle stations. Time to show them that dead ships can still bite." The Defiance came alive like a predator, waking from sleep. Her engines ignited silently, her weapons powered up, and her shields activated. In the span of 30 seconds, she went from space debris to one of humanity's most dangerous warships. Jake looked at the tactical display showing thousands of enemy ships around him. Any sane military officer would surrender immediately. But Jake was human, and humans specialized in impossible victories. "All weapons, target their command ship. Fire when ready." The Coalition's first sign that something was wrong came when Admiral Zekthar's flagship shuddered under a massive energy blast. Alarms screamed across the bridge as systems overloaded and displays went dark. "Where did that come from?" Zekthar demanded. His tactical officer stared at his instruments in confusion. "Unknown, sir. I am detecting weapons fire from a sector. That should be empty space." Another blast hit the flagship, this time from a different direction. Then another. And another. "Sir, we have multiple unknown contacts appearing throughout the fleet. They seem to be materializing from nothing." Zekthar realized with growing horror that his perfect formation was compromised. Human ships were activating inside his fleet, ships that had been invisible until this moment. They had been waiting, watching, learning his tactics and positions. All ships, emergency scatter formation. Eliminate the human vessels immediately, but it was too late for neat formations. The Coalition fleet was designed to fight enemies in front of them, not ghosts that appeared among their own ranks. Commander Ryan Hayes smiled as his evacuation ship dropped its holographic disguise. The UES Liberty had spent 3 weeks pretending to be a refugee transport, complete with fake distress signals and false cargo manifests. "All right, people," he announced to his crew. "Time to stop pretending to be scared civilians. Show them what a real human warship can do." The Liberty's true weapons emerged from hidden compartments. Her civilian hull plating fell away to reveal military armor underneath. In seconds, she transformed from helpless refugee ship to deadly predator. "Weapons, target that Vexian cruiser. They destroyed New Shanghai 5 years ago. Time to return the favor." Ryan's ship was one of 40 ghost ships that had been hidden throughout human space, waiting for this moment. Each one carried a crew of volunteers and enough firepower to level cities. More importantly, they carried detailed intelligence about Coalition fleet movements and tactics. The aliens had been watching human ships for weeks, learning their capabilities and weaknesses. They had no idea that the humans had been watching them too. Dr. Lisa Carter monitored her neural disruptor from the command center on Mars. The device was working perfectly, sending out quantum pulses that interfered with alien brain functions across multiple species. "Neural disruption at 70% effectiveness," she reported to Admiral Rodriguez. "Coalition crew coordination is breaking down rapidly." On her screens, she could see the results of her work. Coalition ships that should have been working together were firing on each other by mistake. Commands were being misunderstood. Battle formations were falling apart as crews lost the ability to communicate effectively. "Dr. Carter, how long will this last?" Admiral Rodriguez asked. 4 to 6 hours, depending on the species. "The Zentauri seem most affected, while the Corvani are showing some resistance." Lisa felt sick watching the chaos she had created, but she pushed the feeling aside. These aliens had come to destroy humanity. She was just evening the odds. "Admiral, I am detecting something unusual," she continued. "The Coalition fleets are splitting apart. Some species are withdrawing from battle." Ben Rodriguez smiled grimly. "That is exactly what we hoped for. Keep monitoring, Doctor. This is just the beginning." Ambassador Kate Williams walked calmly through the corridors of the Coalition flagship, her diplomatic immunity protecting her even as battle raged outside. Her escort of alien guards had no idea that she was carrying a weapon more dangerous than any bomb. "Ambassador, you should be in the secure diplomatic quarters," her Zentauri escort said nervously. "The battle makes these corridors dangerous." "I need to speak with your command staff about surrender terms," Kate replied smoothly. "My government has authorized additional concessions." It was a complete lie. Her government had authorized her to destroy the Coalition's ability to wage war, no matter the cost to herself. They reached the flagship's main computer core, a massive room filled with quantum processors and data storage systems. Kate could see the complex network connections that linked this ship to every other vessel in the Coalition fleet. "I need to access the communication system to send updated terms to Earth," she said. As soon as her hands touched the computer interface, Kate activated the quantum virus hidden in her diplomatic credentials. The malicious code spread through the coalition network like wildfire, creating backdoors and stealing passwords faster than their security systems could respond. Within minutes, every coalition ship would be vulnerable to human cyber attacks. Their own communication network would become a weapon pointed at their hearts. "Upload complete," Kate whispered, knowing that her words were being recorded by human intelligence. "Package delivered successfully." The Zentari guard looked confused as alarms began sounding throughout the ship. "Ambassador, what did you just do?" Kate smiled sadly. "I saved humanity. I am sorry you had to be part of it." Governor Sam Collins watched from his hidden command bunker as coalition landing ships descended toward New Boston. The aliens had detected no life signs from the colony, so they were approaching without caution. "All defensive systems ready," Major Kate Williams reported. "The mining lasers are locked onto their landing zone." Sam had turned his entire colony into a trap. What looked like abandoned buildings were actually fortified bunkers. Mining equipment had been converted into weapons. Even the power plant had been turned into a bomb that could take out half the city if necessary. "Let them land," Sam ordered. "Let them get comfortable. Then show them that humans do not give up their homes without a fight." The first coalition troops to enter New Boston found empty streets and silent buildings. Their sensors detected no life, no weapons, no threats. The colony appeared to be exactly what it seemed, a ghost town abandoned in panic. They were wrong. Sam waited until 1,000 enemy soldiers were inside the city limits. Then he activated the trap. Every building in New Boston erupted with weapons fire. Mining lasers designed to cut through asteroids sliced through alien armor like paper. Construction robots emerged from hidden compartments, carrying explosives and human weapons. The city itself became a living weapon, fighting back against its invaders with everything the colonists had been able to build and hide. All units. "This is Governor Collins," Sam announced over the colony's loudspeaker system. "Welcome to New Boston. Population still human." Admiral Ben Rodriguez stood in his command center, watching tactical displays from across the galaxy. The first phase of humanity's counterattack was working better than he had dared to hope. "Sir, we are receiving reports from all sectors," General Davis announced. "Ghost ship operations are exceeding expectations. Coalition fleets are in complete disarray. What about the neural disruptors?" "Highly effective. Many coalition species are having trouble coordinating their responses. Some fleets are withdrawing completely." Ben allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Phase 1 had been designed to create chaos and confusion among the coalition forces. It was working perfectly. "Begin Phase 2, he ordered. "Activate the Lazarus Network. Deep beneath Earth's cities, quantum communication." Admiral Zekthar stood in the ruins of his command bridge, staring at damage reports that made no sense. In 3 days of fighting, his massive coalition fleet had been reduced to scattered groups of confused and demoralized ships. "Sir, we have lost contact with the 5th and 7th battle groups," his communications officer reported. The humans seemed to be everywhere at once. Zekthar had commanded fleets for 3 centuries. He had fought against every major species in the galaxy and won victories that were studied in military academies. But he had never faced an enemy like humanity. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked. "Over 60,000 confirmed destroyed." "Sir, another 100,000 have withdrawn from combat. Many of our allies are requesting permission to return to their home systems." 60,000 ships lost in 3 days, against an enemy that should have been crushed in the first hour of battle. "What is our assessment of human tactics?" His tactical officer looked confused. "Sir, they do not seem to have tactics in any traditional sense. They appear to be making decisions randomly, but somehow those random decisions work in their favor." Zekthar understood the problem. The coalition had prepared to fight a civilized war against a predictable enemy. Instead, they faced humans who seemed to thrive on chaos and impossibility. Admiral Ben Rodriguez reviewed battle reports from across the galaxy while sipping coffee in his command center. 3 days into Operation Lazarus, humanity was not just surviving the Coalition's attack, they were winning. Ben, the Vexian Dominion, has formally withdrawn from the Purification Pact, General Davis reported. Their losses were too heavy to continue. That makes 4 species so far, Ben replied. The Corvani, the Talari, the Mishkari, and now the Vexians. How many are left? 10 species still fighting, but morale is dropping rapidly. Our Psychological Warfare Division reports that Coalition commanders are questioning their leadership. Ben smiled. Protocol Omega had been designed around one simple principle: make the enemy defeat themselves by showing them that victory was impossible. What is our status on Phase 3? All human fleets are in position. We can begin random strike operations within 6 hours. Execute Phase 3. Time to show them that humans fight differently than everyone else in the galaxy. Captain Jake. Morrison's ship materialized out of hyperspace directly above a Coalition supply depot in the Rigel system. The aliens had thought the depot was safely behind their lines, protected by multiple layers of defense. They were wrong. All weapons, target the fuel storage tanks, Jake ordered. One quick strike and then we disappear. The Defiance fired a single volley that turned the massive depot into an expanding cloud of gas and debris. Before the defending ships could react, Jake's vessel vanished back into hyperspace. Navigation. Set course for the Altair system. We have another target in 20 minutes. Jake was implementing what Admiral Rodriguez called impossible warfare. Attacking targets that should have been unreachable, then disappearing before retaliation was possible. Human ships were appearing deep inside Coalition territory, striking without warning and vanishing like ghosts. Sir, how are we able to travel through their space without being detected? His tactical officer asked. Dr. Carter's neural disruptors are still affecting their sensor operators. They see what they expect to see, not what is actually there. Jake had been fighting this way for 3 days now, hitting 12 different targets across 8 star systems. Each attack was quick, devastating, and completely unexpected. The Coalition was learning that humans could be anywhere at any time. Commander Ryan Hayes led a squadron of ghost ships through the Proxima system, hunting Coalition patrol vessels. His targets thought they were safely escorted by heavy cruisers, but human technology had leveled that playing field. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, his sensor operator reported. Zentari Patrol Group, 6 ships. All units, attack pattern Delta, hit them fast and keep moving. Ryan's ship struck the patrol group from 6 different directions simultaneously. The aliens had overwhelming firepower, but they could not use it effectively against enemies that refused to fight fair. Ghost Leader, this is Ghost 3, came a voice over the communication system. Enemy reinforcements approaching from the outer system. Copy that. All units, withdraw to hyperspace. We will find easier targets. This was the essence of human warfare. Never fight when the enemy was ready, always attack when they were not expecting it, and disappear before they could respond effectively. The Coalition had more ships, better weapons, and superior technology. But they also had something that was killing them: predictability. Governor Sam Collins stood in the ruins of New Boston's city center, surrounded by the wreckage of Coalition landing forces. His volunteers had held the colony for 3 days against overwhelming odds. Major Williams, what is our casualty report? He asked. 230 humans killed, sir, but we destroyed over 3,000 enemy soldiers and 47 landing craft. Sam felt proud and heartbroken at the same time. His people had fought like heroes, but the cost was terrible. Still, they had achieved something important. They had proven that humans would not give up their homes without a fight. Sir, we are receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command, the communications officer announced. Admiral Rodriguez appeared on the main screen, looking tired but satisfied. Sam, outstanding work. Your defense of New Boston has become a symbol of human resistance. Coalition morale is collapsing across the galaxy. Admiral, We cannot hold much longer. They have us surrounded and outnumbered. You do not need to hold. Governor, you need to disappear. Sam looked confused. Sir, Phase 4 of Protocol Omega. Your volunteers are being extracted tonight. We have bigger plans for New Boston. Dr. Lisa Carter watched her laboratory displays as the neural disruptor. Effects began to fade across the Coalition fleet. The quantum interference had lasted longer than expected, but it was finally wearing off. Admiral, the disruptor is losing effectiveness, she reported to Earth Command. Coalition coordination is returning to normal. How long do we have? Admiral, Rodriguez asked. Maybe 12 hours before they regain full communication ability. That is enough time. Doctor, begin Phase 5. Lisa smiled. Phase 5 was her personal favorite, turn the enemy's own weapons against them. Beginning upload of the adaptive virus, she announced. This should be interesting. The virus Kate Williams had planted in the Coalition computer network had been quietly learning enemy systems for 3 days. Now it was ready to take control. Across the galaxy, Coalition ships began experiencing mysterious malfunctions. Weapons fired at random targets. Navigation systems sent ships to wrong coordinates. Even life support began behaving unpredictably. Admiral, I am detecting massive system failures throughout the Coalition fleet, Lisa reported. Their own computers are sabotaging them. The aliens had spent decades perfecting their technology, making it more advanced and interconnected than anything humanity possessed. Lisa had turned that interconnection into a weakness by making their own systems fight against them. Captain Morrison watched as Coalition ships began firing on each other, their weapon systems hijacked by human computer viruses. It was beautiful, in a terrible way. Sir, the enemy fleet is breaking apart, his tactical officer reported. Half of them are shooting at their own allies. Do not interfere, Jake ordered. Let them destroy each other. We will clean up whatever is left. This was the most human thing possible. Winning a battle without fighting it, by making the enemy defeat themselves through their own actions. Ambassador Kate Williams had been rescued from the Coalition flagship during the chaos of the computer virus attack. Now, she sat in the medical bay of a human ship, watching the results of her sacrifice on the tactical displays. Ambassador, the virus you planted has exceeded all expectations, the ship's captain told her. Coalition forces are in complete disarray. Kate smiled weakly. She had been prepared to die for her mission, but human rescue teams had pulled her out during the computer system failures. How many Coalition ships are still fighting? She asked. Maybe 30,000. Scattered across 20 systems. Most of their fleets have withdrawn or surrendered. Kate thought about the alien guards who had treated her well during her captivity. She hoped they had survived the chaos she had caused. Captain, are we accepting surrenders? Yes, ma'am. Admiral Rodriguez has ordered that all Coalition personnel who surrender be treated according to the rules of war. That made Kate feel better. Even in victory, humanity could choose to be merciful. Fleet Admiral Zekthar made the hardest decision of his military career. Standing in his backup command center, surrounded by reports of defeat and disaster, he activated the emergency withdrawal. Signal. All Coalition forces, this is Fleet Admiral Zekthar. Execute immediate withdrawal to home systems. The offensive against humanity is terminated. His communications officer looked shocked. Sir, are you surrendering? I am preventing the total destruction of our fleets. The humans have proven that this war cannot be won. Zekthar had studied human military history before the invasion. He had read about their wars, their tactics, their weapons. But he had not understood the most important thing about humanity. They were at their most dangerous when facing impossible odds. The deep space sensors of the Veilthron Empire picked up something strange. Commander Zekthar stood in the control room of his massive warship, watching the data scroll across blue screens. His 4 arms moved quickly over the controls as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. Sir? "We have confirmed the readings," said his aide. "A younger Vielthron with silver skin like all of their kind. There is a ship out there, but it does not match any known design in our database." Zethkar nodded slowly. The Valthran Empire had ruled 3 sectors of the galaxy for over 1,000 years. They knew every ship design, every weapon system, every piece of technology that existed in their space. This was something new. "Send a message to High Command," he ordered. "Tell them we have found an unknown vessel. We will investigate and report back." The ship they had found was called the New Frontier. It was a human colony vessel, though the Valthrans did not know this yet. Inside the ship, Captain Jake Morrison was having his morning coffee when his communications officer called out. "Captain, we're getting scanned by something big," said Officer Lisa Campbell from her station. "Whatever it is, it's huge, much bigger than us." Jake set down his coffee cup and walked to the main screen. He was a tall man with short brown hair and calm eyes. He had been flying ships for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like what appeared on the screen now. The alien ship was sleek and silver, easily 10 times the size of the New Frontier. "Any response to our radio calls?" Jake asked. "Nothing on any frequency we know," Lisa replied. She was a small woman with red hair tied back in a ponytail. "But I'm picking up some kind of energy signal. It might be their way of talking." "Keep trying to make contact," Jake said, "and get everyone ready, just in case." On the Valthran ship, Zethkar was studying the readings his sensors were giving him. The human ship was small, maybe 300 meters long. It looked crude compared to Valthran designs, with rough metal plating and what appeared to be patches welded over damaged areas. "Sir, their power readings are very strange," reported his science officer. "The energy output does not match what we would expect from a ship that size." Zethkar looked at the data again. According to his instruments, the small ship was generating almost as much power as a Valthran cruiser. That should be impossible with such a primitive design. "Open a communication channel," he ordered. "Use the standard first contact protocols." The message that came through to the New Frontier was unlike anything the humans had heard before. It was a series of mathematical equations and scientific constants, followed by what seemed to be pictures. Lisa Campbell studied the transmission for several minutes. "I think they're trying to show us they're intelligent," she told Jake. "These are basic math problems and physics formulas. Can you send something back?" Jake asked. "Already working on it," Lisa said, her fingers flying over her keyboard. She sent back the same equations with the solutions, then added some of Earth's own mathematical constants. When Zethkar received the human response, he was impressed. These beings understood advanced mathematics and physics. That meant they were intelligent enough for formal contact. "Prepare a boarding shuttle," he told his crew. "I will go over myself and make contact with these beings." Jake watched on his screen as a small craft left the alien ship and approached the New Frontier. It was beautiful, with smooth curves and no visible engines, yet it moved with perfect precision. "Should I arm the weapons?" asked his security chief, a big man named Pete Harrison. "No," Jake said firmly. "If they wanted to hurt us, that big ship could blow us apart without even trying. Let's see what they want." The alien shuttle docked with the New Frontier using some kind of magnetic system that the humans did not recognize. When the airlock opened, Commander Zethkar stepped through, followed by 2 of his crew members. The humans got their first look at a Valthran. Zethkar was tall, about 7 feet, with silver skin that seemed to shine under the ship's lights. He had 4 arms and large eyes that were completely black. When he spoke, the words came out in a musical language that made no sense to human ears. "Wait," Lisa said, hurrying over with a small device. "I've been working on this since we got their first message. It should translate what they're saying." The device crackled for a moment. Then Zethkar's voice came through in clear English. "Greetings. I am Commander Zethkar of the Valthran Empire. We come in peace to make contact with your species." Jake stepped forward. "Welcome aboard the New," Frontier. I'm Captain Jake Morrison. We're humans from the planet Earth. Zethkar's large eyes studied Jake with interest. You are far from your home world, Captain Morrison. May I ask how you achieved faster-than-light travel? Of course, Jake said. Lisa, would you show our guest to the engine room? As they walked through the ship, Zethkar was amazed by what he saw. The human vessel was clearly functional, but it looked like it had been built by people who had never heard of proper engineering. Pipes and cables ran along the walls in patterns that made no sense. Some areas were patched with what appeared to be metal tape. This is our fusion reactor, Lisa said proudly, pointing to a large cylinder that hummed with power. We built it ourselves when the original one broke down about a year ago. Zethkar stared at the device in confusion. By all the laws of physics, he knew the human reactor should not work. The magnetic containment field was completely wrong. The plasma flow patterns violated basic thermodynamics. Yet his instruments clearly showed it was generating massive amounts of energy. How does this function? He asked, his translator making his confusion clear. Well, Lisa said, scratching her head, we kind of had to guess at some of the math. The original plans got damaged in a computer crash, but we figured out that if we reverse the polarity on the magnetic coils and add this extra cooling system we made from spare parts, it works even better than before. Reverse the polarity? Zethkar repeated. But that should cause the plasma to become unstable and explode. Yeah, it did that a few times while we were testing it, Lisa laughed. But then Danny Rodriguez, our chief engineer, suggested we try wrapping the containment field in the opposite direction. Turns out that stabilizes the whole thing. Zethkar was beginning to feel dizzy. Nothing the humans were telling him made any scientific sense, yet the evidence was right in front of him. Their impossible reactor was working perfectly. Could you show me your faster-than-light drive? He asked weakly. Lisa led him to another room where a strange device took up most of the space. It looked like someone had taken 3 different machines apart and bolted them together with whatever they could find. Wires and tubes connected various components in a maze that hurt Zethkar's eyes to look at. This is our warp drive, Lisa announced happily. We call her Bessie. She's not much to look at, but she's carried us halfway across the galaxy. How does it create the space-time distortion necessary for faster-than-light travel? Zethkar asked, though he was afraid of the answer. Honestly, we're not entirely sure, Lisa admitted. The original drive got damaged when we hit some kind of space storm. We had to rebuild it using parts from the mining equipment and some stuff we found in storage. Danny and I just kept trying different combinations until something worked. Zethkar examined the drive with his instruments. What he found made his scientific training revolt in horror. The humans had somehow created a stable, faster-than-light field using a method that should have torn their ship apart. They were manipulating space-time itself with equipment that looked like it belonged in a junkyard. This is impossible, he whispered. What's impossible? Asked Captain Jake, who had joined them. Your technology, Zethkar said, his 4 arms, gesturing helplessly. None of it should work. Your fusion reactor violates the laws of thermodynamics. Your faster-than-light drive uses principles that do not exist in any scientific database in the Empire. Jake and Lisa looked at each other and shrugged. Well, it works, Jake said simply. That's all we care about. But how can you build technology without understanding the scientific principles behind it? Zethkar demanded. We understand it. Fine, Lisa said. Maybe not the way you do, but we know how to fix it when it breaks and how to make it better. Sometimes you just have to try things and see what happens. As Zethkar prepared to return to his ship, his mind was spinning with questions. He had spent his entire career studying the most advanced technology in the galaxy. He understood the mathematical principles that governed fusion reactors, faster-than-light drives, and energy systems. But these humans had taken everything he knew and thrown it out the window. They built their technology like artists rather than engineers, using intuition instead of calculation. And somehow, impossibly, It worked better than anything the Empire had ever created. When he reached his shuttle, Zethkar turned back to look at the new frontier one more time. The small, patched-together human ship hung in space like a flying junkyard. But inside that junkyard was technology that could change everything the Empire thought it knew about physics. He needed to report this discovery to High Command immediately. The humans represented something entirely new in the galaxy, something that challenged the very foundations of Veltran science.